right, and as you all know, these are possible because of our generous sponsors. So TST is our sponsor this month. So we're gonna take a quick video at all of their great products, and then we'll get the session started.
Truck System Technologies was founded in 2010, offering an affordable, reliable TPMS solution to an aftermarket and retrofit niche in the recreational vehicle market. In 2017, TST was acquired by Pressure Systems International. PSI is the global leader of automatic tire inflation systems for the commercial vehicle market for 18-wheelers as you know them. After the acquisition, PSI re-engineered TST's TPMS product to meet the grueling standards of the commercial vehicle market and also to become an original equipment manufacturer, or OEM, factory-installed component in the RV market. In early 2018, Forest River began testing TST's TPMS system, and after over a year of scrutiny, TST received the approval stamp by Forest River and began talking to the various production lines within Forest River. TST is very proud to be the RV industry's first TPMS at the OEM level and is the only tire pressure monitoring system approved for use on OEM factory installation on every line at Forest River and Thor. TST, the RV industry's only standard OEM TPMS.
All right, thank you again to TST for being our sponsor for both March and April. We are able to have these coffee, lunch, and learns because of their generous sponsorships. So you guys are all here today to hear from Larry Wassam, who is the president of Wassam Sales and Marketing Company. He's been in the RV campground and resort business for the past 15 years, serving in various roles of one of the nation's largest publicly traded campground systems. And then in late 2019, he started his own consulting company, helping clients greenfield new resorts and market recently purchased properties. So he's here today to talk to us about the trends and how the industry can take advantage of these. So with that, Larry, take it away.
Well, thank you, Monica, and thank you to your group for inviting me. One disclaimer, my wife and I have a little Yorkie, a teacup Yorkie. His name is Tigger. I'm broadcasting live from home, and Tigger may have some comments from now and then. He's been quite vocal today, but I want to start by saying, congratulations to everyone on the call. We're actually involved in the hottest industry, I think, going out there. And the outdoor industry is just booming, as everyone knows. Good reason for that. That we're making families happy by offering freedom, security, safety, all the things that they're looking for in a getaway, and a lifestyle, really. So they're living out their dreams, and everybody on this call, whether you're involved in RV components or you're involved in the manufacturing sector, or you're in a campground somewhere, or an RV resort or whatever, you're all involved in it, and I congratulate you, and you should be proud because we are doing something that's actually regardless what you're doing. So Monica had kind of prepared in advance a few questions that are really common that I hear a lot over the last 15 years, and some of them are more increasing than others. So if you want to kick off with first question, and I've got some notes that I'm going to refer to because I'm getting old and I have to look at my notes sometimes. So just throwing that out there.
Best presentations have great preparation, so that's awesome. So we've got some good questions here. If anyone has additional questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. So we'll run through this Q&A and then hit up your questions as well. So let's start off with, what are some of the things customers are asking for at campgrounds and that owners must address?
That's a really good question. The first thing, when it comes up every day, almost every campground, is Wi-Fi. Because of COVID-19, people working remotely, they're e-learning, connecting with their family, and friends. I just heard this morning of a good friend of mine that's their mother came down with it at 93, and they can't go in and see her, and they're RVers, so it's people are actually demanding it at the campgrounds. They're demanding that they be able to connect, and they're willing to pay for it. So that's kind of one of those opportunity areas that we have of providing solid Wi-Fi for people, that using boosters or outside companies to help us do that. The second thing on my list is clean bathrooms, bathhouses, restrooms. It's a demand. They want to know it's safe to go in there. Many companies are now providing like a safety seal, using like an outside company to come in and do it, so it's not all on them. They're providing that, and it kind of gives a little peace of mind and some comfort level for the customers. Thirdly, ADA compliance is a big issue, and will be more so in the future. Even though people may not be in a wheelchair, they want to get up into the clubhouse. They want to go to different activities, and they need ramps. Maybe they're using a walker, whatever the case. I hear that. I travel all over the U.S. at a number of different properties, and that's one of the things that comes up the most is I can't get up those steps. And so, can we have like a ramp? It's also an issue with RVs, by the way, being able to get in and out and safely. Some fun things, food trucks, entertainment, local entertainment. People are all over that. They'll pay for it. They want something, especially if they didn't pull a car behind their RV and they're staying at the property. They want that type of entertainment, and food truck vendors will come out if you're located near one, definitely at least once or twice a week, and it creates an excitement in the property. This is one of the bigger ones, is 50 amp service. I go to a lot of RV resorts and campgrounds, and I think there's a difference between the two. I would label RV resorts as those that are more, Sunbelt type properties that offer full resort type services. Campgrounds you'll find more in the Midwest and Northeast and Northwest and Upper Midwest that have a shorter season, and they have 4 full seasons. So they do lose that winter season most of the time, but campgrounds tend to, folks want more stuff outdoors, hiking and camping and stuff like that. And then, of course, little things at the office. They want to be able to, this is becoming extremely common, that people want to get their package delivery at the campground office or resort office. So Amazon hasn't made it like they made it by not being successful and being able to find you anywhere. And so they want their package delivered, and they want it to be, sorted, and so they can go pick it up at the office. Barbecue grills, of course, is always a big thing. Picnic tables, fire pits when it's safe. They want to have all that. And then increasingly, more and more are requesting different types of rental options. We've all heard about the tiny homes, and we've heard about park models, of course, for years, yurts, glamping units, all that is coming up more frequently. So that's kind of just an overview of what I'm hearing out there. And I'm sure other people are hearing something similar, or, some additional things that I missed.
So we already have a follow-up question on that. That's all really great to hear, the wide breadth of amenities and items that people are looking for. So on the 50 amp, do you see the requirements going above 50 amp service?
I do. It really depends on whether they're staying at an RV resort, as I mentioned, that caters to those Class A's, even Class B, C's, and some fifth wheels. Um, they need 50 amps. Some of them need higher than that, for customer satisfaction, all the way up to 100 amps. So I'm involved in a startup, a greenfield project, where they are building a resort from ground up, and the minimum they're doing is 50 amps. They have a few 30 amp sites, I'm sorry, that for folks with just pop-ups and smaller units, but 50 amp, it goes right to 50 amp, the majority of the sites, and some are 100 amp. So I hope that answers that question.
And then we have another follow-up on that first one. Yeah, I think, let us know if that doesn't answer your guys' question. You can unmute as well as use the chat. Another question is, does the package delivery apply to short stay customers as well as long stay customers?
Yes, short stay, I would label anything under 2 weeks, and they often are, looking for package delivery. Not as much as those people that are, if we define the different types of users, the annual customers, the seasonal customers, and the transient customers, which annual is, anything over 6 months, that, based on the laws in that state, how long they can stay in the unit. It's defined differently by state, but seasonal would be anything 1 month up to 6 months. And then transients, anything under a month. So a transient customer, increasingly, if they're staying, 2 weeks to a month, want package delivery. So I would, if you're going to have it for the seasonals and you're going to have it for the annuals, might as well, have it there for those folks that are transient.
I think that's a perfect segue into one of the questions that we had talked about previously, and that's, what is the right mix of annual, seasonal, and transient sites for campgrounds to have?
It's tough to say, depending on the property and whether it's a campground or an RV resort. But I've gone into so many properties where, the customer's like, I want to go camping, but everywhere I go, it's full. And we see rigs, in there that look like they've been there for a long time. And some of those have like the tires are covered. They have Christmas lights strung up. For some reason, they always have a pink flamingo. Hope nobody on the call has one, but they tend to have one of those out there. And so those are definitely annual sites that those folks are staying for a long time. Seasonal, I think I've seen a lot of properties where more than 80% of their sites are annuals, and that happens over a period of time. And there's a reason it happens is if you are a family owned, I don't want to say mom and pop because I hate that term, but if you're family owned business and you get to know the customers really well, they're coming year after year, it's hard to, stand your ground, raise the rates, and move them, from it. Often they want to move from a seasonal to an annual, or they want to move from a transient to a seasonal and then on to an annual. It's a natural progression. I think properties should have a strategy that no more than 50% of their sites are dedicated to annuals. If they want to continue to grow, because annuals, they're getting less income per site, although it is stable income, so you want at least 50%. But I think 25% should be dedicated to seasonals and another 25% to transient, because they all kind of feed each other. But you got to be willing to increase the cost for each one of those categories over time. So hopefully that answers the question. And some properties, that's just not the right fit. They want to be all annuals, and that's great. But I encourage them to not become so friendly with their customers that they're not raising their rates at least to CPI.
Okay, so what about there's different demographics of RVers, and what they're looking for may change. You know, the RV Industry Association just last week released our owner study that showed that 22% of RV owners are between the ages of 18 and 34. So that's a changing demographic, and that's almost a quarter of RV owners are now millennial, Gen Z. So what do they have different preferences when it comes to amenities, or what they're looking to see from campgrounds?
I think so. It's rather new, and you know, when I started in this industry 15 years ago, the average age was probably closer to 60, Monica, but it's down. I don't know. The RVIA would probably be able to score that better than I can. But what I see is the millennials, Gen Xers that are definitely getting into it. In a lot of cases, I've heard where I'm friends with a lot of RV dealers that have told me, hey, this family has 2 kids that were going to buy, they've been renting, they were going to buy their first home. They saved up their down payment and decided, instead of buying a home, to actually buy an RV, because the kids weren't in school anyway, they were remote learning. And so they're buying RVs and traveling the world and doing everything that they can work remote. I think COVID's changed everything. So it's when you're actually, you know, remote learning or remote working, one of the things you want to do the most is get outside. Outside activities are huge with everyone, but even more so with that younger demographic coming in. They want nature trails, they want hiking trails, they want, I'm hearing golf driving ranges, you know, where they can just, you know, drive the ball as far. That may be kind of expensive to actually provide to customers, because you have to have that machine that goes around and picks up all the balls. And then the putting greens is a thing. A lot of older campgrounds and resorts have this fixation on mini golf, but it's moving more into, hey, I want real activity. And they want, of course, if you're located near a lake or the ocean, they want the option to get out and do, you know, some fishing, boat docks, kayak rentals, canoes. There's also a new trend. There's a company, escapes me by name right now, but they're producing outdoor fitness facilities, which is really interesting. I have one client that is putting that whole system in. So you go from one station to a station, like in a cardio fitness type environment outdoors. Because of COVID. And so that's really interesting. And I think that will catch on. I think people will do that versus maybe indoors. They'll go indoors when it's raining or cold, but I think that's kind of cool. Playground equipment for kids is always a big deal. And then one of the hottest, latest trends I've seen, and I love, is these hanging, if you have trees on your property, just mounted like cuddle chairs is I think what they're called, and you know, you can just sit there and curl up in it, get into it real easy, curl up, read a book, whatever. And the properties are putting those like all over the place where people can sit versus, you know, and swing. It's a lot easier than getting in and out of a hammock. I leave 1 foot always in a hammock when I get out, and I end up on the ground. So that's just me. But so it's kind of an interesting concept that's going around. Of course, they want craft stations where they can work with their kids and or grandkids and draw up some pictures of the RV resort and what they're doing, the activities they're doing. You almost have to have a swimming pool, which most places do, and some type of water exercise program. Last thing I would throw out there is shuttles. If you are you're driving a Class A, B, or C, and not pulling a car, you want to be able to get out into the community, go to local attractions, see things. There are shuttle services that actually will split the revenue with you that they generate. And it's a great service. The customers will pay for it. You don't have to provide that free. So it's they want to get out and go to local events, wineries, all that kind of stuff, casinos, and would like to have shuttle service. So those are the things I'm hearing out and about.
Awesome. We do have another question in the chat. Do you know of any organizations that plan to cater to the hashtag van life with more urban locations that are less campground and more rest stop, coop, communal workspace that cater to this new breed of traveler?
Well, that falls in the line of the Boondockers group, I think, that are doing a lot of road stop developments where they're providing people that are just on the road boondocking. I would refer that individual to that group to learn more about those, because that is a growing segment. Absolutely. Boondockers.
Boondockers. Yeah, there's great services out there to
yeah, a quick one.
What was that? All right. So we got another one in the chat. With the increased focus on electric vehicles in the U.S., how well do you think the campground system is positioned to handle these electric vehicles?
Well, there's electric hookups at all the sites, but I don't think they're ready. The majority of campgrounds are not ready for that. And I know there's a.
Like, do you think?
I think some of the bigger organizations are looking at that, and that are forward thinking. I know, for example, Sun Communities that always looks out 3, 4, 5 years down the road, has some initiatives to do to provide that electric hookup. But it's new, and we, as an industry, have always kind of been a little bit behind, unfortunately, when it comes to the campgrounds. I should say the RV dealerships and the manufacturers especially, are out there. They're ahead of us. We've always been in a catch-up mode, trying, like right now, still when you go to a lot of properties, there's just 30 amp sites, and maybe they have 10, 50 amp sites. But if you're driving any type of motor coach, you've got to have 50 amps to make everyone in the family happy. Maybe if you're by yourself or just you and your wife, you can get by, but she wants to run the hairdryer and the microwave at the same time. And so, you got to have 50 amps.
The follow-up on this is, what do campgrounds need to do? So those that are looking to be prepared for electric cars, what should they be doing and what do they need to do?
Well, I would, that's a really good question. I would reach out to some of these electric companies that are installing units all across. I don't know how monetarily it works. Where a company like at 7-Eleven, I'm starting to see stations popping up all over where you can actually charge your unit and slip in a credit card or whatever. I would suggest reaching out to one of those companies and doing some research on whether or not they will actually come to your campground and set up the sites for you. Maybe up near the entrance of the campground. I don't know as if we'll reach a point and till maybe 10 years in the future where every site has that own electrical hookup.
We're on this alternative energy. This seems to be people are really interested in this. So are there any alternative energy sources being talked about within the campground industry? Solar, wind, and how they can utilize those?
Well, there are, as you would expect it's geographically arranged in California. I know of several campgrounds that are looking at different sources of power. Some of the more, call it progressive states, I think are doing that. But by and large, the majority of campgrounds that I know of, I do not hear them talking about alternative energy at this point.
All right, so if campgrounds are not holding occupancy, what marketing programs would you suggest they explore to attract more customers?
Great question. I would say update website first. I mean, that's where everybody's going to try to get reservations. They're searching online. So updating the website's huge. There's a number of, I look at a lot of campground websites where, it just has a number posted to call and make the reservation. There's actually several companies out there now where you can make the reservation online, where you can partner with them and you're just paying like a flat $2 per reservation, and they'll sync with your current website, hopefully updated website, and with a grid of different locations, and they'll provide that service. One that's kind of leading right now is a company called CampSpot. CampSpot is rapidly growing with more of the family-owned campgrounds that are out there. They're teaming up with them because they also provide a call center and some backup service, and they will literally take anyone that wants to join on their platform. So, I would encourage that. And make sure that your website is linked with all the stuff that you can do that's free, that doesn't cost anything. Have your campground listed on GoRVing.com. The company, The Dirt, is also thedirt.com, DYRT. Outdoorsy and RV Share are exploding, partly because people want to try before they buy. So they're renting through Outdoorsy, they're renting through RV Share. I just talked to the CEO of RV Share a couple of days ago. They are exploding in business, and and the customers want to go somewhere. So you can actually upload your campground information on their site, and there's no charge. So being on all those things, I think, are important. And then other thing I think is critical is having a CRM. For those that may not be aware of that term, it's a customer relationship management software program that allows you to capture customers' names, information, and what they're looking for, and to actually use the CRM to put people's information in there. Even if they call in, they come in off of info form off the website. You want to still upload or enter those folks in your CRM so you can set up automated email drip campaigns, all kinds of things that you can do once you build a database. Everybody should be working to build a database, not just waiting for someone to drive by. And on that note of driving by, signage is huge. And for those that are off major highways or roads, having a updated, fresh, clean sign, I think is critical. And I go by some, and I don't know if I can say this live, Monica, but I'm going to, and you can slap me later. But there's a Netflix show called Schitt's Creek, and they have a terrible sign, and we don't want to have signs like that. We want to have it updated, and where it really, tells you what the campground's all about. So it has the curb appeal that people will want to come in to the property. Another thing you can do is build relationships with local dealers. If you're near an RV dealer, you're probably near 3. It's kind of odd. I've never figured it out why RV dealers are all located together on the same road. It's like furniture stores. I've never figured that out either, why they all sit by each other. But build relationships with your RV dealers, your local ones, and offer for them to come out and stay. They work very long hours, and they work weekends, but they're midweek stayers. So if you get them to come out, on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and stay a couple nights, and you comp it for the dealers, they'll promote you. They'll promote you. And if you can get them actually to refer customers to you and get their name, address, phone, email address, and fill out a lead form that they send to you, that's huge. And I've built a dealer network with the company I was with for a number of years, and we built a nationwide network. And the customer has to opt in. You can't just reach out to them without their approval. If they're on a national do not call list, they have to opt in. But it's a huge source of potential new customers if you get with enough dealers in your market area. More sophisticated or funded campground systems can also look at geofencing, which is a new, it's not that new, but it's a very effective way to get people to capture people in your area. It's the technology behind it is quite complicated, but yet simplified for the end user. You just have to work with the right company to help you with it. But they can actually track through geofencing cell phone people that have their cell phone location settings on, and you can capture that information, feed them ads. Would love for you to come by and check us out at this property. So it's I don't get involved in websites. I don't get involved in geofencing, but I know a lot of people that do. One of them actually is on this call, very, very talented in that area. And if you want more information on updating your website or anything like that, I don't get compensated for it, but I just know this lady and she's very sharp. I think that's about it. The last thing would be is testimonials from customers. We've all been in the situation where a customer walks up to you at checkout and they said, we just had the best time of our life. It was awesome. Everything was perfect. And my husband was even nice to me the whole time. I mean, it was just a great stay. And that's when you should ask for a testimonial. Do you mind putting that in writing for us? Shooting us a quick email and giving us permission to actually post that. So many opportunities are lost when people are talking about that. And I think it's training people on site to, recognize what is a good testimony. Sometimes people bookmark things. They'll say, this was awesome. This wasn't so awesome. And this was awesome. Overall, everything was awesome. You have to kind of weed through and find out if that's a postable testimonial that you want out there for the whole world to see. But if with their permission, put it on your website. I hope everyone is sending some type of thank you for visiting email. And in that, rate us on TripAdvisor. You want to shoot for those 5 stars. And why not? I mean, people are looking at that. That's a very powerful thing. I think all of us look at that. If we're looking at a hotel or whatever type of rental accommodation or anything, we're looking at the number of stars. And we don't always look at how many reviews, that may only be 3 people, but it has a 4.5 star rating. Then we're like, woo, it's got a 4.5 star rating. So I think it's a big deal, and we want to continue to, push for positive reviews, and it will help you in customer searches.
That's all really great advice. So we have been blown up a little bit over here in the chat. So a couple of these are recommendations, and then there's some questions in here too. So going back to the CRM, someone said, I use Method CRM and it is great. It has a customer portal so people can go in and pay invoices and submit work orders or requests. It integrates with QB. I'm not sure what QB is. Maybe you guys know what that is.
QuickBooks, yeah.
Yeah. All right, then we have a question. In your business, do you make your customers aware of NFPA 1194, the standard for RV parks and campgrounds, and urge them to use that to build their campgrounds? Yeah, this is a great standard. The industry works to make sure that 1194 complements the other standards that RVs are built to. So what's your read on what the campground owners are doing with that standard?
Well, I think the majority of, I'm involved in about 3 greenfield projects right now. And what has been very interesting is in all 3 cases right now, they're previous or currently home builders, and they've seen the need for campgrounds. They've also read a lot. Wall Street has produced a lot of information out there about how successful the profit margins are in owning and operating an RV resort or campground. And so many of these home builders had, all of them that I'm working with them on the marketing side of it, and helping them with that direction. They're beyond the point. They've got their plans built, and so I couldn't speak directly to exactly all the rules that they're following. However, I know they are the majority of these people that are getting in the business now are currently home builders, and they've built a number of developments, and they've got the cash. It's very expensive. One of my clients, I'll say the name, Zeman Homes. They're based out of Chicago. Zeman is building RV properties all over Florida, and they're greenfielding them. And I'm certain that they're following all the rules associated with that. But I'm just a marketing guy, so I'm not a legal expert.
Yeah, how marketing and standards people can get along great.
Yeah.
There's a couple standards people on here. All right. Also, going back to some of the marketing stuff, I think this is more of a suggestion. Also, make sure your Google business listing is updated, has plenty of site and amenity photos, reviews, longitude and latitude. Add Google products if you can. They will both increase your visibility and tie it into your website, potentially helping you with SEO. So that's a really good suggestion. Then we got, this is a question. This might not be the right forum, but what is some advice of how to get into the campground resort ownership? I'm nearing retirement from the military, and this is my retirement hope and dream, but don't really know where to get started.
Well, I would look at purchasing a current operation. There's a number of brokers out there that could help, that specialize in the RV field. Marcus and Millichamp they're huge and in almost every state. And purchasing a current RV family-owned business is probably the easiest and safest way to get into it. And maybe you'll retain some of the staff that are there to help you as you learn the business and grow it yourself. But that's what I would suggest versus greenfielding and trying to build something from scratch. Now, the family-owned businesses that are in destination locations where there's a lake, an ocean, there's a theme park, there's something, a casino, there's something near that property. They've been hit. They're the big boys out there are going to all those locations and they're offering them some cash. And many of those folks are sitting on their property and waiting for that offer to go up and up. But there are still a number of, there's thousands of campgrounds that are family owned out there. And what I've seen, it's, this industry, when you really look at it, it's about 40 to 50 years old in the RV campgrounds. And many folks that started back then are now at the age of, we want to get out, or they've lost, a loved one that was helping with the business, and they want to just walk away, and their kids, quite honestly, don't want to have anything to do with the business. So it's, or they're located in a different state or they're whatever. So they're looking to sell. Often not, it's just approaching them. They don't have a for sale sign out there, but I've been involved in acquisitions, and often when you just approach someone and say, is it that time, they could still be living on property, and you can offer, you can continue to live on property, but we have an opportunity. I would love to talk to you about purchasing. There's many that would rather sell to an individual, honestly, than to one of these big companies. So, because they want that family feeling to continue. Hope that answers that.
I think that's really great advice. I think we've got a couple comments in the chat. We've got some marketing professionals here as well. Jordan's company can help with websites, geofencing, and any marketing needs. So Jordan's email's there in the chat. And then new to the group, welcome, Laura. Adamski. I am terrible. I can't pronounce anything.
Adamski.
There you go.
Adamski. Yeah, I know Laura.
Thanks, Larry.
She's got a boutique marketing firm that works in the RV industry as well. So her email address and information is in the chat as well. So love to support our fellow members of the RV Women's Alliance. So that's great. So we're getting close-ish to the end. So if you guys do have more questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I did want to, I think this related to something you said a little bit ago, but about partnering with people, are there some opportunities for education? I mean, between all of the first timers who are coming in and RVing, and then the renters, you were talking about the renters, there's people that, depending on how good their, peer-to-peer rentals, or where they're getting, how well they know their unit, and a little bit on the buying side too, how well people know what they're getting into. There's definitely some opportunity for education, and I know a lot of manufacturers and dealers are really focusing on that this year. But do you think there's a room for campgrounds to offer, I don't know, whether it's
Oh,
partnering to make sure those people arrive at the campground and they have a good experience?
absolutely. And I'm friends with Sean Loring, who a lot of people on the call may know. He's the CEO of, why am I going blank? Escapees, the Escapees Club. And Sean has a RV boot camp that he performs at your property, and is always looking for places where campgrounds that will host them, and the customers are paying to stay, and they'll come in midweek, so they're not messing up your weekend bookings. But he provides a staff of folks that just basically teach you how to, drive your RV, to all the hookups, everything. One of my clients actually in Florida last week told me that somebody bought an RV from a dealer, first time buyer, bought an RV from a dealer, showed up at the property without electrical connection, without a hose for sewer. And, the dealer, in this case, just didn't offer it to them, didn't tell them they had to have it. So they ended up leaving, going back to another dealer and purchasing what they needed to get hooked up. So it's kind of a mad rush out there right now. Dealers are, selling so much, and from the service side, they're also servicing so many dealerships, or so many customers, that some things are slipping through the cracks in that case. So I think there is an opportunity to partner with folks like the Escapees, and they also are the largest group that I know of out there that has full-timers. So they're a great group to get to know, because they have seasonal and full-time customers. So that would be my recommendation.
Similarly, on the partnering and about service, is there opportunity to partner with, whether it's a dealership on service or mobile techs? Is there a way that an opportunity there for campgrounds to be able to service their customers better?
Yes, and I just saw the RV Advisor is also a good one. Someone said that absolute RV Advisor is a great partner for education. Sorry, I neglected that. They're great. Kelly's fantastic. But there a number of dealers in the past would provide mobile services and come out to campgrounds and RV resorts. Really depends on how big you are and how busy they are. Right now, I think it would be difficult to get a local RV dealer to come on site with any consistency. They may come on a Tuesday or Wednesday, but they're just so busy. And that's why I congratulated everybody at the beginning. We're involved in the biggest boom in this industry's ever had, and it's one of the largest, fastest growing industries in the nation. So, and even worldwide, Australia is seeing a massive boom in RV sales and camping. So it's we've never encountered this before. And in the past, you could get an RV dealer to come out, absolutely. And but right now it may be a bit more difficult because they're so busy.
Yeah, and that's where we usually have, I don't see if they're on here. We have a couple of mobile techs that are members of the association. So I know that that's another opportunity as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, everybody's on LinkedIn. So you can search on LinkedIn for RV mobile techs. Some fantastic folks that you can hook up with, and they'll be happy to talk to you.
Absolutely. Another new to the group, Carol Mitchell, actually entering the industry to provide a personalized. The goal is to provide mobile services, inspections, and how-to for new owners, and support new campsites as well. And then virtual mechanical diagnosis with the RV advisor. So that looks like a couple really good resources for everyone. That's all I have for questions. And I think that's all the questions in the chat. So last call. While you guys think, I'm gonna give you a minute to think, maybe not quite a minute. I want to thank again TST for their sponsorship of today's and next week's and all of April's Coffee, Lunch, and Learns. This is possible because of their generous sponsorship. So again, thank you. Stephanie's been on all of these Coffee, Lunch, and Learns. So we thank you for not only your support, but your participation as well. Last call, questions? All right. Well, Larry, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you everyone for your participation. And I hope everyone has a really great weekend.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, everyone.